Okay, this is Brendan's rack amp tutorial featuring my gear. So if we think about an amplifier as a three-part system with the preamp, power amp, and the speaker, then the rack amp system effectively just disassembles that into discrete parts that you can then mix and match. So you have different preamps that you can match with different power amps, and then you can match those with very different speaker cabinets. So as opposed to a combo, which you have everything in one, this is like modular. So this combo amp has the preamp controlled by the volume, and then it has a master volume which controls the power amp section, and it has the speaker, so it's all together. The preamp is controlled in this amp by three 12AX7 tubes. Those are in everything. So three 12AX7 tubes, and that's the preamp. And what the preamp does is it takes the signal and like the instrument signal from the pickups and amplifies it to a point that a power amp can then send that signal to at a much higher level to the speakers. That'll drive the speakers, because the signal from the guitar can't drive the speakers alone. So in this Fender, the preamp controlled by the volume is that signal. Then we have the EL, I think 34s or 84s, either way they're British, as the power amp section, and that adds character. So this rack system, preamp amplifies the signal and gives it tone and character and color. And okay, so whereas like this preamp, then I have some effects we'll talk about, and then power amp. So this Marshall solid state power amp has 0 controls. Typically you would have like presence or a master volume. This is just an on or off. I'm not using it right now, but that's because I don't have a cabinet in here. What you could do alternatively is run the preamp to an amp that has an effects loop and send it to the return, because the way that an effects loop works is that it takes whatever is going to the preamp, and then you can put an effect in there like a delay or an echo, and then send that to the power amp. So instead of you could have a high gain preamp going and then delay the high gain sounds, as opposed to having your delayed signal getting muddied up by the high gain sounds before it hits that power section where it gets amplified to the speakers. So this takes it all apart. I've built a bunch of patches, and right now I'm just cascading this preamp into this preamp. So my ADA MP1 has two 12AX7 tubes, which is why I have it set up racked this way so that it's got some ventilation. And because it gets pretty hot after a while. So this has two 12AX7s, hits this preamp, and then there's 3 more 12AX7s, so that's 5 now. And then, well, these tubes, this would be a cut we would cut here because I lost my place, but we won't cut, we'll just keep going. So the rack system that I've got set up here, the preamp has the SPX90 multi-effects unit in the effects loop. So just like the effects loop here, we have 2 gain stages. We have overdrive 1 and overdrive 2 before we have the master gain. And the SPX90 is between these gain stages. So I have like a symphonic patch on here, we'll play it, but here's the sounds part. Warming up. Okay, so this is patch 1, kind of just a clean, good guitar signal. A little bit of grit. And we're also hearing the MP1 hit the Alesis MIDI Verb 2, which is always on. So as opposed to using like a spring reverb in an old Fender combo, I have the MIDI Verb as always on. And if we hear the entire wet mix, it's that Shoegaze My Bloody Valentine. That like 50%. So then what I want to do is have a MIDI switcher so that I can go through all these different presets without having to stop. So what I could do is have like a preset per song, or clean, dirty, modulated. And so I built a couple really quick ones here just to show you what is going on. So I'm gonna unbypass the SPX90, which is in the MP1 effects loop. So here's a clean guitar without the SPX90 going into the MIDI verb 2. Sorry. So that's a big sound. Then patch 2 is like kind of a heavy sound. We still have all that reverb. And then patch 3 is the same, but I have the XPX90 going in the loop now. So it's going to be like a big 80s kind of like. And then 5 is, I really love this one, so I'm going to turn the reverb off and turn the SPX90 off. And this is just the ADA, but it's voiced to be like a big British like Marshall sound. In fact, it's much louder than the other presets right now. And that's it, Brendan.